chicas, mujeres, estudiantes, jóvenes. My name is Marisela Barbosa Cortez. I am the founder of The Time is Ya and the visionary de la Latina Luncheon ahora. Gracias. Yes, thank you. I am very excited and deeply honored to welcome you today to this event. First, I want to thank all our sponsors. Pacific Oaks College is the main sponsor, and Dr. Judy Castro was not able to be here with us today, but she says thank you. Monarch Engineers, of course, mi esposo, and Turtle University. They are the ones that made this event possible. Now, I also want to ask for the Ser Latino students. Can you guys stand up? Las estudiantes de Ser Latino. Stand up, let's clap. Vamos a hablar. Yes. Felicidades. Gracias. A ver. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Pueden sentarse. As a proud graduate of Vallejo High School myself, it fills me with much joy. Yes. Vallejo in the house. That you're here. Because at the same time, many years ago, I was sitting in classrooms like you. And I never imagined that I would be standing here hosting an event to honor you today. So, muchas gracias. Gracias a los leaders del Ser Latino group. Can you stand up? Are you here? We see two leaders here. Is there? Mina, awesome. ¿Quién más? Mina. Today, you're also going to be meeting 8 poderosas Latinas from diverse fields who are going to be ready to share their stories with you. Yo soy una poderosa de ellas. And make sure that when we talk about poderosas, you also claim that you're a poderosa because we deserve that honor. So they're going to share a little bit about their story and what they're currently doing. But my vision and my intention is that, my hope is that when you leave today, you feel inspired. You feel that you have been seen and heard and re-energized. Quiero que se sientan inspiradas, que su voz ha sido escuchada y que se sienten con una energía brillante para conquistar al mundo. Es la fuerza la que nos une y con esa fuerza we can uplift each other. So we have some people that don't, some students and some, I think adults that English is not their primary language, so vamos a hacer Spanish ahora aquí, okay? And it's okay. So it's okay. And so if you're one of the people that don't know Spanish and you need help, let me know so I can connect you with the right. O si eres una persona que estás con alguien que no habla español y solo hablas español, me dicen para conectarlos. So I also wanted the adult women that are in the room, que no son estudiantes, please stand up. Párense. The women that are in this room. Peggy, everybody. Yeah. Estudiantes, let's clap for them. Ellas son mujeres poderosas. We want to thank you for being here for this first event and helping us. Thank you. This is space about lifting each other up because la unión hace la fuerza. Together we continue to building pathways for the next generation of Latinas who will lead the classrooms, boardrooms, and city halls. I'm going to invite Mina, Loera-Diaz, former vice mayor. Yeah. Doriss Panduro, councilwoman from Fairfield. Yes, Doriss. And interesting story, Doriss and I met in 2007. I don't know if she remembers that. She was like this big. But it's great to see her, how she has blossomed and now in political life. Okay, and then we have Mayor Alma Hernandez on the city of Suisun. And we met in 2018. I remember that. And Mina with 2009. See, so there we go. Okay, so we are gonna spend no more than a half an hour asking a couple of questions, and then we're gonna open it to the students. We can take 3 questions.
I'm ready. All right. Hey everyone, nice to meet you all. Roxana Damas para los que no me conocen y para los que me conocen, qué bueno verlas. Good to see you everyone. I've known a lot of these ladies for a very long time, and we can never get in the same room, so I'm just gonna ask for a round of applause just because we're all here. Thank you, Marisela, for being the culprit to make that happen. This is exactly what we need in our communities. A little housekeeping for all of you all. I know you all have social media, so can you please hashtag the name of our luncheon today? So Latina Voices Luncheon, tag Suisun City, tag our mayor, tag everyone here, because it's so important that we create. The time is, yeah, I'm going there, don't wait. The time is, yeah, who put it all together, Ser Latino. We need to create a buzz and making sure that people know that Latinas are here and we're going nowhere and we're absolutely growing. It's important to have our visibility in at all spaces, but definitely having our digital footprint and making sure that we're elevating each other's voices and that you stay connected today after today. I was sharing with our group here that our participants, we've known each other for so long, and it's been many, many years in the making that we've been here to continue to elevate. We wouldn't be here without each other, and I think it's so important that we continue doing the work. So thank you, and I'll get started with our questions because it's gonna be short. So here we go, ladies. This is our civic leadership panel. Make sure that you know that these women, that you stay connected, because we've created what even people in Africa have been asking me questions about. I'm a former UN Empower Women Champion for Change, and the women abroad, when they saw all these women get elected at the same time, in basically it was the same year, I was like, it hasn't happened. We are outnumbered in the policy world, but in Solano County, something is right. So here we go. Path to leadership. What inspired you to run for office, and what gave you the courage to take that first step into public office? Starting with Alma.
Thank you, gracias. Not seeing myself represented was what empowered me. I was going to city council, estaba yendo al concejal, and there was no one that looked like me. I became the first Latina elected to Suisun City. And then when I ran for city council, I became the first Latina mayor elected to any city in Solano County. What inspired me is that we have to have our voices heard. We have to be in spaces where we're not currently at. We have to be able to advocate in those spaces. But more importantly, we have to be able to show that we not only belong, we have the right, we are empowered, and we can make a difference. And so that's really what inspired me, seeing that there was no representation, yet almost 50%, about 40% of the population in Solano County is Latino. So we need more elected leaders, for sure.
Gracias. Doriss, Panduro, Fairfield City Council. What inspired me is a little different. So I ran for the first time back in 2008 because there was a fellow peer who was the same age, so I was like mid-20s, who ran. He was a younger Latino gentleman by the name of Mac Garcia. So he ran for office, and then he was shot and killed. And so when he ran and when he was running, I was so excited to see another young person running for office. And when he passed away, I was like, well, if he can do it, why can't I? Right? Like, why can't I? We're like about the same age. So I put my name in the hat, and that was the start of my journey to where I am today. So he was a big part of that. He opened the door for me. He planted the seed. And the courage comes from, I think, looking to my familia and seeing how far, the sacrifices they made to come here. I'll share a quick story. So when Alma and I first got elected in 2020, was it 2020? Her and I had breakfast the next day in Suisun Valley Cafe. And to get to Suisun Valley Cafe, you have to drive through Suisun Valley Road, which is beautiful. It's full of agricultural land, right? There's a lot of ag out there. And I remember I started crying driving from my home to Suisun Valley Cafe, because in that moment I realized that I was driving through land that my grandparents, that my abuelitos had picked fruit on decades before I was born. And then there I was, newly elected. And so that just reinforced my journey and my purpose in what I was doing. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be as brief as I can, but my story is similar. Years and years ago, I saw the need for Latino representation. We weren't represented in anything. 20 years ago, I founded Centro Latino. So the Centro Latino is a nonprofit that does immigration clinics, naturalization workshops, know your rights. The second thing that I saw is that we needed to work with our kids. Our kids were not graduating from high school, so at the same rates that other kids were. So 8 years ago, I founded the Ser Latino, which stands for Service, Education, and Resources. We work with the parents in helping them navigate the educational system. We do many things. You saw how many girls are here, but I want to give recognition to someone that's in the room. Jessica Gonzalez, if you can stand up. She is our director. And Jessica has taken my vision and has grown it in a way that's I am just very thankful for all the work that she has done and continues to do. So what's the third thing? Politics. We were not represented, not here, not in Suisun, not in Fairfield, not anywhere. And not being a politician, I really wasn't wanting to do this, but I did. I ran in 2016, lost, and I ran again. And in 2020, I became the first Mexican Latina council member, then vice mayor in the city of Vallejo. It only took almost 180 years, but that year was a year that it was the Latina Power Year. It's the same year that the three of us came on board to do what was needed, what we deserved, and what we've done. Thank you.
So we're here with legacy builders, just true Latina, just leadership and divas up in here. I love you guys. That's all I have to say for that part. But I know that it's so important for us to have identity and representation. You've talked about that a little bit, but here's your question. How has being a Latina shaped your leadership journey, and why does representation matter in civic life?
Being able to come into spaces where you can recognize we're missing voices in the room, it matters to be that advocate. In my time of leadership, in representing not only civic leadership, but also cultura, and recognizing the missing voices, I've been able to use my platform to bring into City Hall different organizations, nonprofits, and other community leaders that also represent Latino voices to feel empowered and have access directly to civic leadership. So for example, I served for about a decade in the Solano Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. When I was first elected as mayor, I said, I need you, the board, to come to City Hall and meet with my city manager. What do the Latino businesses in my city need? Come and advocate, here's a door. They had not had that opportunity before. I congregated a group of Latina powerhouses, really, within our community. Some of them represent organizations like Voces Unidas, one of the family resource centers, a parish, so one of them is a pastor, one of them is an advocate in civil rights. So a variety of different Latina women, they're all great in their own areas, and we came together at City Hall in the mayor's office, and I said, what can I do as a Latina mayor to represent, and what can we do together to support the needs of our community members that are not rising up to the level of policy? Because policy is what shapes the community. Policy is what dictates where we put our money of a city or a community. What grants do we go after that support youth and business or enhancement? So being able to use this platform helps provide that opportunity to bring people together. Sorry.
Thank you. So for me, like Alma and Mina, I am also the first Mexican woman to be on the city council dais. There had been not another one. Matt was Latino, and I am the first Latina, which was a really big deal. But in that sense, with regards to representation, I am also first generation Mexican American, right? So my parents were born in Mexico, and I was born here. And so that's what matters. Like I was sharing with my table, that your voice matters, and it matters when you're in these spaces, because you might be the only woman, you might be the only young person, you might be the only women of color, but people want to hear what you have to say. And that matters, like what background you came from, your experiences. You might not think they're a big deal, but they are a big deal, and they need to be heard. And we're connected in very unique ways as Latinos, right? Like Alma was saying, the connections that she was able to bring. So just like, for example, yesterday at City Hall, at City Council, we did a proclamation for the Hispanic Heritage Month. And they always ask me, Doriss, who should we bring to give this to? And so yesterday I presented it to the Puente program at Solano Community College. And that would have never happened had I not had a relationship with that program, had I not been involved with them and seen the great work the Puente program is doing, right? And they're at the college and they help Latino students navigate their college experience and help them transfer. And that's big. And so, because a lot of them come from the same background as I did. I am the first generation, I am the oldest of 4, I am the first in my family to go to a 4-year university, and the first in my family to get my master's. So when you talk about your experience and your background, it matters when you go into these spaces. And so when I walk into a room, I might be the youngest one, the only woman, but it doesn't matter because I know I'm there for a reason. Thank you.
Representation. It's more important than a lot of people think. And I ask that everybody here start participating. Decisions are being made in places where if you're not there, they might not favor you. La representación es muy importante. Las decisiones se están haciendo a diario en lugares donde si ustedes no están presentes, a lo mejor no toman la decisión que les favorece a ustedes. What I did, from the moment that I was elected, I knew that one of the first things that I would do was bring translation services to the council. It's not used often, but it's there. And my hope is that at some point we will get more people to go to the council meetings and be able to utilize that. Una de las cosas que hice entrando al concilio, cuando fui vicealcaldesa, fue que hubiera sistema de traducción. No se utiliza mucho porque mucha gente no va, pero mi esperanza es de que la gente empiece a ir, participe y pueda escuchar. There was another thing that I did for 4 years. The 4 years that I was on council, I had Café con Mina, Café with Mina. Y lo que yo hacía es yo iba a todas las partes de la ciudad y la gente podía ir ahí conmigo y hablar en inglés o en español, preguntar lo que ellos quisieran y yo les contestaba. So another thing that I did is for the 4 years that I was on council, I did Café con Mina, Coffee with Mina, which basically was I would go to every single part of the city and people could come and ask me questions in English or in Spanish, it didn't matter. I've also done backyard presentations, which I'm doing right now for the Know Your Rights. Presentaciones en las yardas de la gente. Si la persona me dice, venga para que hable un poquito de lo que está pasando en la ciudad, yo voy a su casa, yo voy a las casas también. So eso es bien importante. People wouldn't go somewhere if it was in Chinese and you didn't speak Chinese. La gente no va a ir a una junta si es en chino y no hablan chino. So translation is very important. I am for the people, of the people, and will always be. Yo soy para la gente y de la gente. I come from parents that didn't speak English, and here we are now. De padres que no hablaban inglés, y aquí estamos hoy. Gracias.
Mina, we're going to start with you right there, and I'm just going to remind you all, I think you're on airtime right now, 30 seconds, right on the spot. Oh, here we go. Overcoming challenges. What has been your biggest challenge as a woman in leadership, and how did you overcome it, Mina? Yes.
My biggest challenge, some people don't want us in different positions. Let's just be clear, they don't want us there. When I was elected, there were folks that didn't feel that I deserved that seat, and I was told once that I should go back to Mexico. Uno de los obstáculos más grandes que hay es de que hay gente que no nos quiere en los lugares donde estamos, y hay que hablar claro. Hay personas que no quieren que estemos en posiciones de liderazgo donde tomamos decisiones. En una ocasión me dijeron que me regresara a México. The good thing is that I don't listen. I've always, since I was a kid, my parents would say that I just kind of charged at things and did what I needed to do, like translating at the age of 6 for my family. Lo bueno es de que no me importa lo que la gente diga. Desde chiquita, a los 6 años ya les interpretaba a mis padres. Entonces, that's a good thing. Believe in yourself and do what you need to do. Get the job done regardless. Crean en ustedes mismos y hagan el trabajo, le pese a quien le pese.
Thank you, Mina. So I think one of the biggest challenges, and I'll be just absolutely honest and transparent, is that it can feel lonely. Luckily, I was elected with other Latina women and other women in 2020, and we've been able to we're already friends, but having other electeds that are not in your city, you don't want to break any rules, but being able to have these support groups or finding a circle of friends or of people that you can like talk to, vent to, cry with, laugh with, soundboard with, it has been so important. And so that's how I've overcame that, just finding my group of people that I could just talk with and just be with. Yeah.
I echo both of those things the same. When I entered as a mayor, at the beginning, I was, out of the 7 cities, I was the only female and the only person of color. So it was important to find the allies in the room and help them understand who I was and being able to advocate for that space. So being a female in a leadership position, I always feel that I have to double prepare, because I still am challenged by, I see something that's brilliant, and then someone else who happens to be a male says it, and it's like all of a sudden their idea. And so it's like to have advocates who go like, yeah, no, Alma said it first. It matters. And continue to find those individuals who support those ideas. The second thing, I would say racism is real. And I experience it, especially in this temperament, we experience it all the time. It's real. There are individuals who do not want us in these positions. Currently, my entire city council, one of the most diverse city councils of all of Solano County, all of us are being recalled right now. Recall means that some members of the community are just trying to take us out of our seats. So the work to educate our communities about why representation matters is real, and it's prevalent, it's right now. One of the things that I've done to help me through that journey is self-care. I meditate, I pray, I look for mentors, I write, I do walks every single morning. You have to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, your mind, body, soul, because you got to put that armor on when you're going to go out there and represent not only yourself, but everything you bring, and also the opportunity to represent comunidad too. So those are a couple of things that I visited.
Thank you, Alma. And I've been a witness to that. She went to a retreat with me first. All right. For our students, what advice would you give high school students who want to be leaders in their community? Mina.
Okay. I love going first. Okay. My advice. And I'm saying this in English and Spanish because we have some students here and some folks that do not speak English. So that's why I'm doing the Spanish, okay? So Marisela, give me like 30 seconds more, please, because of that. Okay, so what do I recommend that you guys do? Be active, participate. Whether you start with a club at school and later on volunteer, volunteering is a good thing because you learn. You are going to learn. Don't expect all the time to get paid internships. Volunteer, participate, go places, and don't ever be afraid to use your voice. You might really make a difference for a lot of people out there that can't. So use your voice and be everywhere you need to be. Go in groups if you need to, or stand by yourself. But be true to yourself and never back down when you feel that you're saying something right. Lo que yo les recomendaría es de que participen, vayan a lugares, sean voluntarias. No siempre se les puede pagar por que participen en un programa, pero siendo voluntarias van a aprender muchas cosas. Vayan en grupos o vayan solas, pero nunca se hagan para atrás o se sientan menos o se avergüencen de levantar su voz por algo en lo que ustedes crean. Hay alguien a que ustedes les pueden ayudar con alzar su voz.
Everything that Mina said was on my list, but I'll give an example of going and meeting those people in the community that are the leaders in the community, right? And connecting with them. For me, when I met Marisela, I had just graduated. I had just came home from finishing college. So I went to USC. I have my bachelor's in international relations. I came back home and I was looking for a job. And Marisela's like, and I had met her through the Hispanic Chamber. And I started going to the Hispanic Chamber events, not because I owned a business, but because I didn't have any other friends. And I was trying to meet new people. And so I would go to these mixers, and I was the youngest person there a lot of the times. But I would shake people's hands, and I would try to meet new people, and that's how I met Marisela. And one of my first jobs for the state legislature was because Marisela had a connection. And so I became a field representative for one of our state senators, meaning that I represented this person at events and I got to speak on her behalf and those types of things. So making those connections, going out and meeting people, I know it can be a little scary, so have a friend, join. I know Alma and I used to go to those things together all the time, and we still do. So find a friend that you can go with and meet people, introduce yourself, because they want to meet people too, right? They want to help others as well. So thank you.
I would say one recommendation I have is to find something you're really passionate about. Learn about that area, learn about the leaders in that area, and find a pathway to introduce yourself to those leaders. Ask if they can be your mentor. There's people around you everywhere who want to support and help guide you in that path, whether it's higher education, whether it's military, whether it's entrepreneurship, whatever it might be. There's people that want to help you. Pero tienen que preguntar, raise your hand and say, I would like to be guided in this. Can you help me? There's so many people ready to support you. And I just want to remind you all of that as well.
Thank you. All right, Doriss, I'm letting you go first. All right, here we go. The next one. What would you tell women professionals considering leadership roles, whether in politics, business, or community work?
I would say be confident in your own skill set. You already have what it takes. I know it's hard to take that first jump, to be on the board, to say yes to being the chair, to saying yes to being the president, or whatever that may look like on a committee, on a commission. But you already have what it takes to sit at those tables. So say yes. There's never, and I've always talked about this, how women, in order to do something, sometimes we have to be asked several times, especially to run for office, because it's never the right time. It's never the right time. Never. So just say yes. You already have what it takes to be in those leadership roles or in office as well.
Mina?
Okay. Well, believe in yourself. What Doriss says has a lot of truth. Believe in yourself, do the research. But one really important thing is stay true to yourself. In politics, I'm not going to speak about other things, but in politics, there's a lot of pushing and shoving, and there's a lot of do this and do that. Don't ever compromise your integrity for anybody else, because you alone will have to live with your decisions and the votes that you do and whatever you end up doing in life. Believe in yourself. You got this. Crean en ustedes mismos. Nunca comprometan su integridad, porque la política es sucia. En la política hay muchas cosas a veces que te jalan, te empujan, te dicen que votes ciertas formas. Crean en ustedes mismos y váyanse con eso. Y hagan su research, estudien lo que van a hacer para que tomen una decisión informada, pero ustedes tienen lo que se necesita. No necesitan otra gente, ustedes ya lo traen adentro.
I would say, go for it. ¿Qué más? Right? What do you got to lose? Go for it. Échenle ganas, sí se puede, claro que sí. Entre nosotras mismas, ganen sus comadres y qué vamos a hacer, right? Absolutely, tenemos que echarnos porras. We got to do it. One of the best pieces of advice I received when I was starting to go on this route of public service was they said to me, Mira, have two groups of friends. The friends that are about this, your politics, and then have your friends that have nothing to do with politics. So vengo and I'm like, oh my gosh, Doriss, anoche, like literally. Pero anoche, estábamos y estuvimos hasta las 12 de la noche. We were there till midnight. And then, but this morning, my friends are like, hey, we're going to go to Disneyland. You want us to order the shirt for you? Right? Or my baby wants, can you come to the 3-year-old birthday party? Like, claro que sí. So you have to also be nourished, both in the area that you're growing into, but also be supported by people who know you as the heart that you have when you're most vulnerable to. All right?
Last one more? No? Okay.
So we're going to interrupt now for that session. We have a couple of students. I know that if you have questions, stand up. Okay.
high school that would have helped you prepare for leadership or public service? Gracias.
So what would I wish I would have known in high school to help me prepare for public service? Yes? Oh, wow. So I think what I said earlier to the women that want to be in leadership, right? Being confident in myself and knowing that I already have what it takes. Because it is scary. It's scary being in these roles. It can be. It can feel lonely like I should before. But if you know that you're confident in who you are. So la confianza en ti misma, that's important. I think that's what I would have told myself. Because I think I had I faced a lot of mental barriers. Like, I'm not ready. I'm not smart enough. No one's going to care what I have to say. And those are all lies that you tell yourself. So really just having that confidence within yourself, within myself. Yeah. Thank you. Gracias.
You know what? That's a very powerful question, and I will answer it in two parts. Go after every scholarship that you can. Go after every opportunity to finance your higher education. Don't do what I did, okay? I started off at Solano Community College. I had a scholarship, but I started off at Solano Community College, and I went to financial aid. And I came back to my dad, and I was like, mire, papá, they need your taxes for my financial aid. Mi papá, he said, no, mija, don't take financial aid. They're gonna make you pay it back. Van a hacer pagarlo para atrás. So I didn't know, I'm 18 years old, I don't know. So I didn't take financial aid, and I couldn't pay for school. So the way that I paid for school is that I went to Solano Community College in the morning, I went to Trinity College, which was a vocational college in Fairfield, in the evening, did a 10-month program for healthcare administration, then worked in that job to pay for the rest of college. And then when I went to get a better job, I worked full-time to pay for Sac State. So I went to school full-time and then went to school, worked full-time. It's really hard to do. My recommendation is find a way to finance your education so you can be all in and experience everything completely. So figure out the financial pathway forward. And educate your parents. Yeah.
Okay, the question is how can they, being students, participate in the community? ¿Cómo se pueden involucrar haciendo lo que están haciendo hoy? Viniendo aquí y escuchando todo lo que estamos diciendo y conociendo personas que ya han hecho carrera política. You know, one of the things that you should do is doing what you're doing right now. Coming here and participating and seeing everybody that's here and meeting, you know, some of us that are in politics and some that are in other fields. Hablar con sus consejeros en las escuelas para que les digan también qué oportunidades hay, los conecten con diferentes organizaciones en la ciudad. You know, talk to your counselors and see if they know of any organizations that you can participate with. Pueden también llamarnos a nosotros. You know, y cuando digo nosotros estoy refiriéndome a la señorita Jessica González. You know, el Ser Latino da muchos recursos, muchas ayudas y ellos les pueden conectar con quien los puede ayudar a ustedes para que empiecen una carrera en lo que ustedes quieran. You know, another thing to do is also, for those of you that are here that are from Ser Latino, to go to Jessica, Miss Jessica. She is a person that has a wealth of knowledge, that is connected to so many people and organizations, and just ask. Any of us in this room wants you to succeed. Todos los que estamos en este cuarto queremos que ustedes sobresalgan. No tengan miedo. Don't be afraid. Thank you, ladies.
Doriss. And I know we're ready for our next panelist. So Karla, Valdez, come on up. Education panel is what we're doing today. What an honor to be here with both of you ladies. Powerhouses in our communities. So Lissette and I were talking earlier. We always said we were going to do something together, message each other on social media. Of course, she was busy, I'm busy. We never did. But today is our kickoff, now that she's recently retired, that we're going to continue this work. First time that we're meeting in person, I think, but I've seen you around for sure, so thank you so much. Yay, ladies, I get a mic. So do I get to pass this mic around so the ladies can do that? So yeah, so I'll get closer to you guys after the first question. So here we go. Here's our education panel. We're going to start with path and purpose. What inspired you to pursue leadership in education, and what drives your work today?
I would say what drives my passion and my purpose in education and going into educational leadership was the students that were in my classroom and the students that were at my school when I was a principal and the students that I have the opportunity to impact today. What I found early on, 40 years ago now, it doesn't seem possible, and unfortunately still exists today, are people and educators and people in the community who would look at the students in my classroom when I was a bilingual teacher and say, pobrecito, no puede. And that would inspire me and drive me even more in my passion to pursue excellence for the students that were in my classroom. Sí puede. They can. And it's all about the adults in the room and the educators in the room and our people in the community having high expectations and providing the support. Because each and every one of you are a reflection of those students that were in my classroom 40 years ago now. Ustedes sí pueden. Sí pueden. And what our responsibility as adults in the system is to create those places of belonging and have high expectations and provide the support to help you get there.
Buenas tardes. ¿Qué me inspiró? Yo llegué a este país a la edad de 10 años, en los 90s, y fui un aprendiz de inglés, como muchos de ustedes. En el 2015, por suerte de la vida, terminé en la misma high school que yo debería haber salido, y eso me inspiró. Empecé a trabajar con estudiantes que recién llegaban del extranjero, que no hablaban inglés, y mi trabajo era seguirlos a salón por salón para que entendieran el material que se les estaba dando. Y de ahí me salió una oportunidad y me di cuenta que yo podía hacer la diferencia si yo era una maestra, no solamente un asistente. Desde ese momento pasé 12 semestres que terminaron el año pasado, bueno, terminaron este año en mayo, siguiendo a estudiar. Regresé a estudiar como adulta, agarré mi bachillerato, agarré mis credenciales y agarré mi maestría. Lo que puedo decir que lo que me inspira son mis estudiantes. Gracias.
All right, just keep it there because, so here we go. How do you ensure students from different backgrounds, especially Latinas and first-generation students, feel supported and empowered?
As an AP teacher, I teach AP Spanish. Actually, this last year we had this incident where a lot of my AP students are Spanish speakers. And in their English class, they're starting to see some differences between their teachers and how they view their writing and how our Spanish speakers were writing and how they were perceiving things. So I think one of the things that I did for my students was to talk to them about that as Spanish speakers, as minority, we always have to work twice as hard on a lot of things that we do. And we always have to go into rooms knowing that there's teachers out there that have different perspectives. They wear different glasses than we do. So we gotta adjust to that and gotta learn how to deal with that and move beyond what they're seeing, because there's always more that we could offer, not just what they think we could.
In my role as the county superintendent of schools over the last 8 years, I really focused on working with school leaders on policies that are inclusive, on policies that bring programs that help students to feel like they belong. In other words, creating spaces of belonging. This is a very good example of a space of belonging. And too often in our schools, our students don't feel heard. Student voice doesn't matter. The irony in our schools, student voice doesn't matter. And in fact, that's what we have the opportunity to do as educational leaders, is create policies and spaces of belonging and helping students to know that their story matters and their voice matters. Student voice is critical for us to continue to build those spaces of belonging. El Centro Latino is another good example of a space of belonging. Ser Latino, another important, good example of a space of belonging. And ensuring as policymakers, every one of us as community members has an opportunity to be involved in policy and civic engagement and have our voice be heard. And that's a way for us to set the example for our young people and for others who might not feel like they have a voice.
So navigating challenges, you said it's so important about the stories that we tell. So it's so critical that we hear this, because we're all gonna have challenges, and it doesn't matter if it's policy or education or any other space of life. So if you can share, what has been the biggest challenge you've faced in your role and how did you overcome it? You can start, Lissette.
Well, does anybody remember a little thing called COVID? COVID-19, the pandemic, once in a lifetime. I will say that probably professionally, in my most recent role as a county superintendent of schools, when we were all shut down on Friday the 13th of 2019, not that I've memorized that date at all, a date that will live in infamy, but COVID-19 became very polarizing. It was not only was it a medical emergency, it became a political emergency in our country, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in our churches. It was extremely polarizing at a time when what we should have been doing was coming together. And that's how we were able to solve the challenges throughout the years when our schools were closed. It was by coming together with our community members. Myself, I got together with other electeds. I had my colleagues that we were talking about, all of the women that were up here earlier, my colleagues in this work. And it was about coming together and breaking down the barriers of our own organizations in order to be able to bring education back to life to our students. And desgraciadamente, our students who were in schools and behind closed doors, not in schools, but virtual schools, are still suffering And so I would say that that was probably the greatest challenge, but also posed the greatest opportunities to allow us to come together to address those challenges, whether it be technology, food insecurity, and the myriad of challenges that came with COVID pandemic.
You know what? Honestly, I took COVID the other way around for me. For me, COVID was an opportunity to reborn and to do better things, because that's actually when I was accepted into Sac State and I went back to school full time. I left my full-time job, but because of COVID, now I had an opportunity to be a teacher assistant via online with the rest of the world, I guess, at that time. So for me, that was my opportunity to be who I am today. I saw the negative and I turned it into a positive and made something positive out of it. So.
Next and last question, so make it good, ladies. Here we go. Advice for students and professionals. What is one piece of advice you'd give students preparing for leadership and to professional women seeking to advance their careers in education?
I reflected on this one, and here's what I would say. Two things. One is your education matters. Take it seriously. Focus on it. Education takes lots of different pathways. There isn't one way to access your education. But I will tell you what, no one can take your education away from you. Tu educación es tuya. Está en tu corazón, está en tu alma. No one can take what you take from what is around you in your education. No one can take that away from you. It is in your heart and it is in your soul. And every challenge that you come up from will be because you have taken education and inspired it in your own soul. The other advice I would say is your voice matters. You are important. Never forget that. Have a seat at the table and then bring others along with you. Make room for others at the table as well. Don't sit at that table by yourself. This afternoon you heard about a lot of firsts. I was the first Latina elected county superintendent in the county's history, over 150 years in that position. We cannot let it be the last. The first that you heard about this afternoon, don't let them be the last, but allow them to be the foundation upon which each of you will stand and continue to do great things. Tu voz es poderosa.
You said it all. You said it all. Yes, tu voz es lo que va a hacer la diferencia. Y una de ustedes tiene que ser la siguiente que tome ese rol de empoderamiento en nuestra comunidad. La diferencia la van a hacer ustedes. Su educación siempre va a ser súper importante. Y como dijo ella, la educación es algo que nadie te va a quitar. Y la satisfacción el día que terminas tus estudios y ese impacto que estás haciendo no solamente personal, pero familiar, porque ahora tú eres la primera o eres el ejemplo para tus hermanos, como estábamos platicando en la mesa. Es increíble, es, ¿cómo se dice? Un ripple effect, un efecto que continúa. So, dejamos huella, no nomás para nosotros, pero para los que vienen detrás de nosotros, que son ustedes.
Well, those are questions que luego volviera Dr. Antonia Franco, giving us the final speech.
opportunities in school today, so we're ready for college or careers.
Get involved in your school. Get involved in your school. Get involved in your clubs. Be active. Be involved in your student council groups. All those things will help you build skills that you need to be a community leader. So take advantage of that.
Hola, mi pregunta es para Lissette, la señorita Lissette. ¿Cómo se mantiene motivada cuando todo parece ser difícil?
Muy buena pregunta. Cada día hay algo. Me siento motivada. Algo que me motiva es mi familia. Algo que me motiva también es mi propia hija querida, que estudió y está tomando su vida un día a la vez y superando en su profesión. Eso me motiva. Un programa como este me motiva también. Tener la oportunidad de continuar a involucrarme con programas como este y estar con jóvenes como ustedes en la secundaria y también estar con personas, las adultas, las latinas aquí, las latinas poderosas que no faltan de seguir programando oportunidades para latinas, para jóvenes como ustedes, también me motiva. Aunque me acabo de retirar, no estoy descansando. Lo que me motiva es seguir trabajando con jóvenes y latinas y otros grupos que están programando oportunidades para estudiantes, porque ustedes son el futuro. El futuro es lo que me motiva también.
Una pregunta más. Cuéntanos sobre una mujer que te inspiró o creyó en ti.
Una mujer que me inspiró o que creyó en mí. Definitivamente tengo varias, pero una en particular fue una directora, también minoría, que desde el momento que recibí mi notificación de que me habían sido aceptada en la universidad, ella siempre me dijo, tú puedes, tú puedes, tú puedes, tú puedes. Y eso me ayudó mucho a romper todas esas barreras como mamá, como persona adulta, tratando de comenzar de nuevo. Su apoyo incondicional me ayudó a seguir adelante y a ser lo que soy hoy.
All right. Well, thank you very much to our panelists. En verdad, it's such an honor to be with all these first legendary ladies. So please, round of applause to all of them. And I do want to wrap up by saying some of the tokens that you take away today are: create a place of belonging, value your learning. Make sure that although you are working 2 times harder to be recognized or respected in your work, but that you rise above the judgment of the spaces that you're in. Come together and bring unity in times of challenges. Make sure that your education matters because no one can take it away from you. Turn those negatives into positives and make sure you're sharing your stories like you are today. Thank you, Marisela, for making it happen.
tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. I usually like to stand, so it's going to be hard, and I usually like paper. But I'm trying to be a moderna, right? A Latina moderna to use my laptop, so bear with me around that. But I feel like let's give a round of applause to all our panelistas before, right? And I believe a lot in sisterhood and hermandad. And I feel like even though I'm new to your community, I feel like I have been embraced by the stories that you have all shared already. So I feel like if you think of the relay race, I'm a very into athletic stuff, right, in sports. So if you think of the relay race, right, my colleagues gave me the best start, and I'm bringing the leg forward to the end. So I really appreciate the space and opportunity to be with you today. So bear with me, I'm gonna have a seat here. I also want to just thank, Marisela and the Time Is Ya Network for this opportunity to connect with you all. It's been a really nice experience chatting yesterday, and even in these moments and talking with Ofelia and Mina, like we share similar things. And so it's just like really beautiful to be here today with you all. And I love the Ser Latina group that's here today, always representing. Woo-hoo! So thank you for that. I just want to take us back a little bit when I was a little chiquitita, and I'm going to take us through my journey. But throughout my childhood and young adult, I've had some defining experiences that have shaped my life, and that's similar to everyone else's stories today, right? I grew up in a small agricultural community west of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm from Arizona, where the only economic opportunity in my pueblito was farming, right? Farm worker work. My town had high poverty, clearly we had gangs, teenage pregnancy, all that comes in a community because we don't have economic opportunities for growth, right? And we had immigrant communities. My dad is from Mexico, my mom is a Chicana, but I felt first generation still because my mom never went to school beyond high school, got her GED. And for those of you that know like generations, like the generations of poverty repeat themselves if you don't change the path. So that's what I grew up in. And I had a friend who got pregnant in junior high. This was back in 1985, a long time ago. The only person I ever knew. And then 2 of my cousins in high school got pregnant. And they didn't finish high school, and sadly they got into drugs here and there along the way. And now they're in a better space, thank goodness, right? My parents worked really hard, similar to all your stories. We had generations of farm workers in my familia from both my mom's and my dad's sides. And my parents, they worked in the farms for a brief period before I was even born. So I didn't learn these stories until I was older to know that, But my mom was 9 years old, had to not go to school because she had to take care of her siblings while my grandmother picked cotton in our town. And that was very real. And then when my grandmother would take a break, my mom would go pick cotton at 9. And she's like, I could still remember that it would prick my fingers, at that age. But she had to do what she had to do. A lot of things happen because of necessities. And a lot of our panelistas said that, out of necessity, the things that we need to do. And one of the things after years, I'm a qualitative researcher at heart. I love stories. And, sometimes, I don't know about you all, but my parents, they didn't talk about their life a lot. And I had to probe and pry things out of them by asking them questions. But when my mom first told me about that story about picking in the fields, she's like, right then and there, as a 9-year-old, I knew I wanted a better life. I wanted to get out of poverty. I just had to figure out how to do it. And she met my dad very young, and they both had the same goals and ambitions. And they're very tenacious, and they're very successful. They got us to where we're at, and I owe everything to my parents and my grandparents. And so I think all of us here, right, our role models are often our parents because that's what we have to see as role models. And I just my question always is how do I pay it forward for everyone else, as my colleague had mentioned as well, right? So what was different in my childhood? Why was I different? Why did I not follow those paths? And part of the reason were my parents. My parents gave us structure and they were strict. You know, they allow us to do things, but they were very strict. And we talked about college. Mi papa, like, so brilliant. I know he always wanted to go to college and never could. My dad was the oldest of 11. My mom was the oldest of 9. You know, they made sacrifices of their lives, you know? And even though we're imperfect, by the way, I love my parents, but our life was not perfect. And I have a lot of stuff I'd worked through the years, but we were always together no matter what, you know? And that is what I really appreciate about my parents, because I think they gave us the start when I compare myself to my cousin, who I was really close to, but was pregnant at 16, dropped out, and so forth and so on, you know? The other thing was, like, I saw things, and I was a quiet kiddo, but I made choices, and I wanted something better for myself, right? So the vision I had was, I'm going to college. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm going to college. So I made a choice not to be like my cousin. I'm learning from her mistakes, you know? I chose a different way of being. The other thing was, like, I was really curious as a young person. I had to navigate things. My parents never said you couldn't go to college, right? They were talking about college, but they didn't know how to help me. So I had to figure it out. You know, I had to ask questions. I had to raise my hands, be resourceful. I think I was talking to Ofelia earlier. She had to help her parents when they only spoke Spanish. Out of necesidad. You do things because you have to do those things, right? But that curiosity always helped me to, like, raise my hand. I still remember sophomore year in high school, I was in geometry, not my favorite, by the way. And there was an announcement and they said, oh, we have a program called Upward Bound at the university if anybody wants to go to college. I was all, ooh, my hand raises up. Like, I look around, I think I was the only kid, or maybe there was another kid that raised their hand for that opportunity or to learn more about it. And so they gave me the information and I proceeded with it. Which leads me to my next point of a support system. My parents supported me to a certain extent. I had to find other people and programs to help me. Like SED is like my upward bound. They helped me to think about how I was gonna get to college step by step. SED is giving you those opportunities as students so that you could really learn how to navigate your lives. And so I owe everything to Upward Bound, to my parents, and to adults that really helped me along the way. And these experiences are both strengths and imperfections, right? So I ask you to think about things today. What memories does your experience bring to you? What are some of the strengths and imperfections of your familias? And how will you use that to shape the way you want to move in this world, the choices you want to make? Because it's really up to you, despite whatever your circumstances may be. I fast forward to college. Going to college was a big deal in my family. I was the first one to go to college, and my parents supported my decision to go 2 hours away. When people around me were saying, ay, Maria and Pancho, why are you letting Antonia go on to college? She's so far. Why can't she just stay closer? But they allowed me to. So I still remember the day when we packed up the trunk of the class, we had a big old boat back in the day of a car. There was 4 of us kids. Ahí estamos los cuatro, me and then my sister and my brother. And my parents are all taking me to my first day of school. It was a family thing, right? And how better than to my younger siblings to see the path forward very differently. Can you hear me? Thank you, Jessica. And so I get to college, boy, very interesting. I majored in business. I was one of few Latinas. There were 3 of us. And we knew each other, right? And we connected. And there are always gonna be these instances where you may be the first, as my colleagues have shared, the first in office. But you have to persevere and keep moving forward because you belong to be there. And so I went through that, right? And then also, but I always remember support systems. I was like, who can help me here? Oh, the Multicultural Student Center at the university is gonna help me. People know how to support first generation students. So I took advantage of all those things and doors would open because I said yes and I sought them out, right? In college, there was a session on going on to grad school and I'm like, what is that? Curiosity. I'm like, I'm gonna go check it out. I go check it out and they're talking about like how you can get your graduate degree. And at that point in time, I think it was like a sophomore in college, And I said, you know what? I'm gonna get my doctorate. I don't even know what that is really, right? Just one session. Pero se me quedó en la mente. It's like my intentions. I put those intentions out to say, I'm gonna do it one day. And then I forget about it and I work, go on to, be in school. As I fast forward, I went to school on one decent scholarship that paid tuition but paid nothing else. Back in 1995, I left college with $15,000 of loans. It's a lot now, right? It's a lot right now. But I took that investment because I mattered. It was invested in me, and I took that. So that got me to this point. And I know there's a lot of talk about like, don't get into debt, and you work hard, and you're working while you're going to school. All those choices matter, but know that it's easy for you to get a car, right? And spend $20,000 to $30,000 getting a loan on a car. Why not invest in yourself in school if that's what you need to do, to work and go to school? So it was the best investment I did for myself, right? So I got my bachelor's degree in 1995, long time ago. Got my master's in 2006, 11 years later, and I got my doctorate in 2012, another 6 years later, right? And my master's and my doctorate, I worked full-time while I went to school full-time. You don't want to see me in those days, right? But those of us that did the same thing, I think it was Marta that said that she did the same thing during COVID. And it's never too late to fulfill what your dreams are, but put those intentions out, And 1% of Latinas have doctorate degrees, 8% have master's degrees. So we're represented here. And then of course, bachelor's degree, we're doing way better in bachelor's degrees, but there's a lot of work to do still to keep going and moving forward. So I'm gonna close this out soon around the professional years. I have spent like my entire life, I was thinking I was going into business, and somehow my life pivoted to higher education. And I have spent 30 years working with Latinas just like yourself and your mothers and your families on helping you achieve your goals and dreams. And I've learned a lot along the way. And also being a Latina, one of the only Latinas in a lot of different spaces, you learn a lot too. And what I share with you right now is gonna resonate because a lot of you have already said that in the panels, and I really appreciate that. So there's 5 insights I wanna leave with you today to help you think about, especially those of you in high school, to think about as you move forward. And the first one was mentioned earlier was challenges and change, right? Think of the roller coaster. Who likes roller coasters? You're so brave. I don't like roller coasters. I will not, but I get the roller coaster, right? There's those that are, and they drop down, right? And there are others that are like whiplash you because they're just moving in different directions. That's how life is, right? And how many of you have said this? Just when things are going good in one part of my life, then this other thing has to happen. Right? And now I gotta focus my attention on that. I'm so exhausted, I'm so tired. When will things get easier? Has anyone ever said that? Right? And you know what? It's gonna happen, so what is the difference? The difference is what we choose and how we show up to the circumstances that we're in, right? And that moment of uncertainty, how you choose to pursue that really makes the difference. But how can we learn from those challenges? There's something to be learned, even though it's so hard, there's something to be learned, right? And I have to say, if we have the expectations that a life without challenges and without putting effort is what we deserve, we're always gonna be disappointed. So positioning yourself and being ready for dale ganas, whatever comes my way, I got it, There's no roadblocks for me. And so I remember back in the day when I was working with a mother-daughter program for Latinas, this was in the early 2000s, and the fear of our undocumented families was real. It was scary, it was a time of uncertainty. I could feel their fearness about that. But that program, like said, was a support system. We listened to them, we provided resources, we connected them to nonprofits that could support them, and they created a plan, you know? So they felt a little bit better about that. But the point is that we were there for them in that way. They found a support system. And look at now where we're at, right? 28, 30 years later, we're still having those feelings right now about immigration and our immigrant families. You know, we're thinking about food insecurity and housing insecurity and the education system. Will it be there for me, you know, with all the cuts? So those will continue to feel. You're going to continue to feel certain ways. Whatever your circumstances are, think about what is it that you're most fearful right now, and what are you thinking about? And how are you supposed to move forward? Like, what is it going to keep you to stay on a path? And the next one, number 2, is having a vision for your future and putting those intentions out. We can't control everything, right? What can we control? We control ourselves and how we choose to move forward. So just think, yeah. I was going to share this example, but I'm going to move forward on that. So there's always a choice you can make, right? Ask for guidance, tap into the support system, be resourceful, and that will help you stay on track. But you got to know where you're going. If you don't have a plan, how do you know where you're going to get there, right? You're going to always fall short. So figuring out what your plan, what your dream is, where you want to go. You don't have to know the details, but you have to have an idea of what kind of life you want that's going to guide you. The other thing is positive choices and positive mindset. It's really hard right now when there's a lot of stuff going on to stay positive. But what I do know is we're a very resilient community. We persevere as Latinas, right? We don't let anything get in our way. We kind of try to figure things out. And just think about when you're feeling down, think about the pessimistic person and you can hear their voice. And then think about what if I see the positive side of things and how can I move forward around that? The next one is around your voice and taking risks. My colleagues talked about these things, right? But those go hand in hand with a vision, goals, and a plan about what you want to do. And having that right mindset and the courage and being around people that will support you in those spaces. I really liked how our mayor said around, you have your politics friends and then you have your personal friends. So you should have a different kind of group of friends depending on the things that you really need support in. And I think that's always going to really help you. And I think in terms of your voice, it's so normal to feel scared, to feel afraid or doubt yourself, right? That's called imposter syndrome. It's okay, but it's what you do with that really makes the difference. You can get stuck there, or you're actually gonna say, okay, me susta pero me gusta, right? You're like, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to get out of it. And so we have to advocate for ourselves when those paths are blocked so that you can find another way to get to what you want to accomplish. Just a couple of things in terms of voice. Sometimes, how many of you feel like you have to advocate so much for different things that you could have been a really great lawyer, you know? Because you got to advocate. I was a little chiquitita in 8th grade. I raised my hand like I told you. And there was an 8th grade camp at a university and I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. And I took it to my parents and I said, I want to go. And they're like, why do you want to go? And I'm like, because what if I learned about engineering? What if I'm supposed to be an engineer? And they're like, but it's far from home. You're going to be away from home for a week. I had to advocate for myself and they agreed. They supported me, but I had to call them every day. How you doing? Everything's going good, right? First example of like, I raised my hand and I just did it even though I was fearful about it because I didn't know what to expect. As a professional, having to advocate for a raise because you work your tail off, right? That's hard to do, to advocate for a raise. Running for public office, being the first, that takes guts to say, I'm gonna do it even though no one's paved the path, I'm gonna do this, right? And so I appreciate all my colleagues before us of how they just keep showing us, you just got to do it. Courage, persistent, representation really matters. And lastly, I just want to say is that, what will be your contribution in this current time? How will you pay it forward, right? A lot of my colleagues here are, I'm sure, are mentors to other friends, to other young people. And as young people, you can be in high school and you still can contribute. You still can participate. and whatever really matters to you, you know? If you're getting into politics and you're really curious, how about participating and get out the vote? Or do things that are of interest to you, right? And just a couple of other things real quick is that do what you can. You know, you can't compare yourself to anyone, and the smallest act of kindness really matters. If you see your neighbor needs a little bit of help, how do you support them in whatever they're going through, you know? Because I think that kindness really does spread. And lastly, what I've learned over the years is through all the ups and downs and all the challenges that we encounter, that we can persevere, right? And we can have a better life, and we can help support each other through that. And I want to leave you with the words of a colleague of mine. Every time I give a keynote or, you know, I chat with folks, I always tap into my colleagues and get their perspective. So I asked Jaciel yesterday, I said, Jaciel, I'm going to meet with young people. What advice would you give them? And she was brilliant. It was beautiful. So this is what Jaciel shares with me. We acknowledge there's a lot going on, just like everything else, but stay focused and take it day by day. She's talking to every one of you in the high schools in the SED program. There is power in each and every one of you. Be in community with those you can trust and can empower you and rely on you. Continue your momentum and keep going forward. Don't let anyone stop you. And remember to distract yourself and find ways to still experience joy and live your life, even in the hardest of times. Jaciel, she's a young professional just starting in her career in her mid-20s, and she's amazing, and she has her own story. And I share this because it doesn't matter if I'm here, every one of you has a story no matter what your age is. So share your story with others, bring others up, and elevate us, and that will make us a stronger community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. And I just want to add, it's so important that you share your story, because if you don't share your story, somebody else is going to take it, or somebody else is going to share it in their own way. And it might not be the story you want to be told, right? Because it's not going to be the correct one. We have about 10 minutes before closing. Let's just go, chicas. So all of the attendees will be getting emails to follow up and see if this is something that we can do virtually. You know, there's a whole plan on this, and I just want to get input because right now we have Latinas from all of Solano County. So this is great. This is what Latinas Solitas can do. A lot of work together. We can do a lot of work together to support each other. So before I forget, I just want to say thank you to our amazing panelists, keynote speaker, and mentors. Y a los estudiantes fabulosas, you brought the energy, la curiosidad y el futuro. Seeing you here me llena de mucha alegría y esperanza. Como una ex estudiante de Vallejo High School, soy muy orgullosa. I cannot tell you, cannot express how happy it is I am that I'm able to open doors for you. Porque lo que he estado haciendo ahora es abrir puertas para ustedes. If the mentors, if you have business cards, please give the business cards to the student. They might not connect with them now, but you know, who knows, maybe in the future. And also the student, make sure that if you want to talk to somebody, I think we still got like 8 minutes. You know, I can get them ahí, go after that person and make sure you say hi and say, hey, you know, I need advice on this. So, I just wanted to leave you with this. The luncheon may end here. El luncheon quizás termina aquí. But the connections we made today should continue. Pero las conexiones que hemos hecho ahora deben de continuar. Reach out, follow up, and keep building one another. Because together we are not just celebrating Latinas leadership or civic participation, we are shaping the future de nuestras comunidades. Gracias a todos por sus presencias, sus voces y su compromiso. Hasta la siguiente.
Good job.
important for every student, and in particular our Latina students, to focus on their education, because no one can take that away from you. Once you have your education, it is in your heart, it is in your soul, and it is in your being, y nadie te lo puede quitar.
Hi, my name is Allison, and I go to Vallejo High, and I thought that today was good, and there was a lot of great advice and good people here, and I like the food. I think that education is important because it gets you through like so many things in life, and especially like if like you want to do like a good career. I learned a lot to like not depend on other people, especially about like what they think about or whatever. And basically, it's okay to ask for help, and like don't be scared or nervous to ask for help.
Hi, my name is Lissette, and what I thought about the interview today was a 10 out of 10. Very fun, good food, and I learned a lot.
Mi nombre es Marta Rubio, yo soy la propietaria de Tacos Jalisco en Vallejo. Tengo establecida ahí por 40 años. Me encantó el programa que tuvieron hoy. Creo que es una gran motivación para estas chicas de Vallejo High School. Yo deseé en mi vida estudiar y nunca tuvimos la oportunidad o una motivación que alguien nos empujara para crecer más fuertes. Y creo que es una excelente oportunidad para ellas, enseñanza más que nada. Y creo que esto que les dijeron hoy, que sí se puede, porque todos podemos, no hay límites. Los límites los ponemos nosotras mismas.
Este evento ha sido magnífico, me encantó la energía de todas las jóvenes que estuvieron aquí. La educación es tan importante porque nos da la oportunidad de desarrollarnos de una manera que nos da la habilidad de proveer para la comunidad, voz, empoderamiento, nos ayuda a resaltarnos como personas, y es lo que les deseo a todas las señoritas que estuvieron aquí con nosotros.
Today's event is a culmination of not just the planning for one event, but I would say it's over 20 years of watching Marisela and our community continue to build upon leadership. I'm excited to see young Latinas of Solano County and Vallejo to really come through and listen and learn from women who've been on the front lines, on the trenches, many are the first. I hope for all of you watching this back is that today was inspiration for you, that you will be the next mayor, that you will be the next person who's leading our school district. We need your voices, we need your stories, and I was just excited to moderate today. So thank you, Marisela and team.